Good afternoon. I'd like to thank Women Forward International for inviting me to take part in this wonderful event and all of the speakers for the very important work they are doing. In 2011, while on assignment, I photographed a Freegan on his nightly dumpster dive. I documented him as he rescued pounds of food and laid the bounty out on a cloth on the New York City sidewalk for all to see. Many confused pedestrians stopped to ask, why was this food in the trash? Removed from the garbage bag, passers-by were able to observe the contents, a cornucopia of beautiful edible food. In this teachable moment, individuals were prompted to reflect on the question, what is trash? It was from this experience that the Waste Not series was born. I researched statistics on the coexistence of food waste and hunger in the US. I examined food and feasting in art and was drawn to the still life paintings depicting food by the 17th century masters. The way food was represented in these paintings spoke to me in relation to food waste. I wanted to elevate food that was considered trash in order to show the beauty in what had been discarded. All of the food in this photo was found outside of Union Market in the Park Slope neighborhood of Brooklyn. After making the photographs, I ate the food. Using the New York City Freegan directory, I began diving at various locations around the city and bringing the food home where I created a still life to photograph. The juices and smoothies in these glasses were from a dumpster behind a distribution facility that was filled with not yet expired bottles. Confusion around sell by, best by, and use by dates leads to a huge amount of food waste. All food in this photo was found outside of bakeries and markets in Cobble Hill, Brooklyn. Like most Freegans, I arrived soon after the stores closed. Many times, employees who were not able to take the food would encourage me to take the food and assure me that it was good. I arrived at night and then shoot the next day. Here are oyster shells rescued by Maison Premier, a restaurant in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. They were later picked up by an organization that uses those shells to regrow oyster beds in the New York Harbor and teach kids how to oyster farm. This sorbet was on top of a mountain of still frozen and not yet expired pints in front of the Key Food supermarket in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Tomatoes rescued from the Garden of Eden market on 116th Street in Manhattan. I purposely left the produce sticker on the tomato to indicate that it had once been merchandise. As the project grew, I began exploring other aspects of the food rescue movement, like Chef Dan Barber's Wasted pop-up that focused on collaborating with local farmers, restaurants, and retailers in order to reconceive waste that occurs at every link in the food chain. Here are egg yolks rescued from the oviducts of culled layer hens. They were shaved over a stew of kale ribs and pock-marked potatoes, an imperfect carrot, and strict cosmetic standards from large grocers lead to over a quarter of produce to be wasted before it reaches the shelves. The imperfect produce movement aims to get both retailers and consumers to reconsider these standards. A cantaloupe rescued by City Harvest and given to New Yorkers in need at one of their mobile markets. City Harvest is a New York City-based food rescue organization working to redistribute about 55 million pounds of excess healthy food to more than 1 million New Yorkers every year. Finding ways to effectively redistribute surplus produce and goods is one of the largest obstacles in the fight against food waste. And even after the usable parts have been eaten, food scraps can be composted for fertilizer. Composting organic matter and keeping it out of landfills reduces harmful methane gas emissions that contribute to climate change. This was my compost.